Ripple has filed for a bank charter and Fed master account access. Let's look at what that really means. So, this is an application to the Office of the Comptroller for Currency for a national trust bank charter. You can think about this as Ripple applying to transition from just being a crypto company that works with banks to an actually federally regulated financial institution. National bank charters allow institutions to engage primarily in fiduciary activities like acting as a trustee, custodian, or investment manager, and providing services like safeguarding customer funds or handling settlement. And they're also applying for a Federal Reserve master account through their subsidiary Standard Custody and Trust. That'll give them direct access to the Federal Reserve's payment infrastructure. No middlemen, just a direct connection to the heart of the U.S. financial system. And there's only one other crypto company that's ever achieved this level of federal banking status, and that's Anchorage Digital back in 2021. With a national bank charter, Ripple can eliminate even more friction in the banking system, and that puts them in a position to leverage the XRP ledger in a way that XRP becomes the settlement layer. And with federal approval, all this happens under federal banking supervision, which means that institutional clients can have one more reason to feel comfortable using it without any of the regulatory fear. And that charter could also cover Ripple's stablecoin, RLUSD. And with federal oversight, RLUSD can operate 24/7 with direct Federal Reserve minting and redemption. And we've already seen massive growth with RLUSD. Supply has already grown by about 500%. Amina Bank's become the first global bank to support RLUSD operations, and monthly transaction volumes are already into the billions. But if Ripple becomes a chartered bank, they can custody XRP directly under federal oversight. Institutions get regulatory compliance, and Ripple gets to offer banking services using XRP as core infrastructure. And so let's talk about what that means for your XRP investment thesis, since the long-term implications are massive. And institutional adoption is accelerating pretty hard. Weekly institutional inflows into XRP already reached $37 million. Webus International filed to raise $300 million for an XRP strategic reserve, and VivoPower allocated $121 million for an XRP treasury strategy. So we're seeing corporations that are already treating XRP like institutional-grade infrastructure. And the regulatory clarity aspect really can't be overstated. The EY Parthenon survey found that 20% of 277 institutional decision makers are already holding XRP. But a lot of the institutions themselves have been waiting on the sidelines due to regulatory uncertainty, and by having national bank charter status, it's one more reason that institutions can trust Ripple solutions. The pieces are starting to fall into place, with regulatory clarity, institutional demand, technical utility, and now potentially banking status. And that creates what analysts call a convergence catalyst, which are multiple positive factors that are happening all at the same time. And now, Ripple isn't the only one pursuing this strategy. Circle just filed for a national bank charter too, and that's leveraging USDC's massive $60 billion market position. But Ripple's got some advantages. They have existing relationships with banks like Santander, SBI Holdings, and also with American Express and government partnerships. Circle has a bigger stablecoin for now, but Ripple has cross-border payment expertise and infrastructure. Basel III banking rules impose some heavy capital requirements for crypto holdings, and Ripple owns about 55 billion XRP tokens right now. And that could complicate their capital adequacy ratios. But they're smart about how they're doing this. And since they're routing their Fed access application through Standard Custody and Trust rather than Ripple Labs directly, it keeps their parent company holdings separate from bank operations. And the approval process isn't always quick, so we could be waiting for this to take shape over the next several months. But I'm always glad to be patient for major developments to unfold. So here's my take on where this goes. The market's still pricing XRP like it's primarily a speculative crypto asset. But if Ripple gets national charter approval, XRP is going to become an unquestionable part of banking infrastructure, and that's a completely different valuation model. Look, the tokenization market is projected to grow significantly over the next 5 years. And if Ripple's software suite successfully becomes the bridge between traditional finance and digital assets through having national bank charter status, XRP becomes essential infrastructure for it. And so for long-term holders, this validates the utility thesis with a clear catalyst. The real question is whether the market truly understands how bullish it actually is.